At 6:15 a.m. on June 20th, 1925, Audie Leon Murphy was born in a sharecropper's shack near Kingston, Texas. The house had no electricity, no running water, no insulation, 2 rooms, dirt floor. His mother, Josie Belle Murphy, delivered him herself. No doctor, no midwife, just her and a neighbor woman. Audie was the 7th of 12 children. 5 would die before age 16 from disease, malnutrition, and accidents. The family was desperately poor, not Depression-era poor, always poor, generationally poor. His father, Emmett Murphy, was an abusive alcoholic who abandoned the family when Audie was 12. Before leaving, Emmett beat his children regularly. He gambled away what little money the family earned. He disappeared for days at a time. When Audie was 10, his father kicked him so hard he broke 2 of Audie's ribs. Audie never spoke about this until decades later. When asked about his childhood, he'd say, "It was hard. We survived. That was all." After Emmett left, the family collapsed economically. Josie tried to keep everyone fed by taking laundry work. Audie, at age 12, became the primary breadwinner. He dropped out of school after 5th grade. He never learned to read well. He hunted rabbits, squirrels, and deer. He sold the meat for pennies. He picked cotton during harvest season. He worked any job available. His childhood ended at 12. By age 16, Audie was supporting his mother and 3 surviving siblings. His older siblings had either died or left to find work elsewhere. The responsibility fell on him. He stood 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 110 pounds, small, weak-looking, but he could shoot. His father had taught him that much before leaving. Audie had been hunting since age 5. By 16, he could hit a running rabbit at 100 yards with iron sights on a .22 rifle. This skill would later save his life and kill hundreds of German soldiers. In 1941, his mother died. Cancer. No money for treatment. She suffered for months. Audie watched her waste away. He was 17. After she died, he placed his 3 youngest siblings in an orphanage. He had no choice. He couldn't feed them. He couldn't house them. The orphanage was their only chance. He visited when he could. They hated him for it. They thought he'd abandoned them like his father had. Audie never defended himself. He just said, "I did what I had to do." After Pearl Harbor, Audie tried to enlist. December 1941. He was 16 but lied and said he was 18. The Marines rejected him. Too small. The Navy rejected him. Too small. The Army Air Corps rejected him. Too small. Finally, the Army Infantry accepted him. They were desperate. Standards were lower. If you could walk and hold a rifle, you were qualified. Audie qualified, but there was a problem. His sister gave the recruiter Audie's real birth certificate. He was 16, too young. The Army discharged him. He waited until June 1942 when he turned 17. His sister signed parental consent. The Army accepted him again. He was assigned to the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. Basic training at Camp Walters, Texas lasted 13 weeks. Audie excelled at marksmanship. He scored expert qualification on every weapon: M1 Garand rifle, Browning automatic rifle, Thompson submachine gun, .30 caliber machine gun. Instructors noticed him. Not because he was impressive physically. He wasn't. He was still 5'5", 112 pounds. But he could shoot. More importantly, he was calm under stress. Training exercises with live fire didn't rattle him. Most recruits panicked when bullets cracked overhead. Audie stayed relaxed. He'd been hunting dangerous game since childhood. Simulated combat was less stressful than stalking a wild boar in Texas brush country. After basic training, Audie was assigned to Company B, 1st Battalion, 15th Infantry Regiment. The unit shipped to North Africa in February 1943. They were preparing for the invasion of Sicily. Audie had never been outside Texas. Now he was crossing the Atlantic on a transport ship headed for combat. He was 18 years old. The invasion of Sicily began July 10, 1943. Operation Husky. Allied forces landed on the southern coast. The 3rd Infantry Division landed at Licata. Audie went ashore in the second wave. German and Italian forces defended the island with 230,000 troops. The fighting was intense from the start. Audie's first combat experience came July 11th near Licata. His platoon advanced toward German positions. Machine gun fire erupted from a farmhouse 200 yards ahead. The platoon hit the ground. Everyone except Audie and his squad leader, Sergeant Brandon. Brandon was hit in the first burst, leg wound. He was bleeding heavily. Audie crawled forward. He dragged Brandon back to cover. The machine gun fired continuously. Bullets hit the ground inches from Audie's head. He didn't panic. He pulled Brandon to safety. Then he returned fire. Single shots, aimed, controlled. The machine gun stopped. Audie had killed the German gunner at 200 yards with iron sights while under fire. His company commander, Captain Marks, noticed. After the engagement, Marks asked Audie, "Have you done that before?" Audie said, "Done what?" Marks said, "Shot a man." Audie said, "No, sir, but I've shot a lot of animals. It's not that different." Marks was disturbed by the response, but he promoted Audie to corporal. The Army needed soldiers who could kill without hesitation. Over the next month, Audie participated in 15 combat engagements across Sicily. He killed approximately 30 German and Italian soldiers, all confirmed by witnesses, all at ranges beyond 150 yards. His accuracy was extraordinary. Other soldiers needed 10 to 15 shots to kill one enemy. Audie needed one shot, maybe two if the target was moving. Want to see how this 110-pound kid became America's most decorated soldier? Hit that like button. Subscribe for more incredible war stories. Back to Murphy. In September 1943, the 3rd Infantry Division invaded mainland Italy at Salerno. The fighting was brutal. German forces defended with fanatical intensity. The terrain favored defense. Mountains, rivers, narrow valleys. Every hill was a fortress. The Americans advanced slowly. Casualties were heavy. Audie was promoted to sergeant in October 1943. He was 19 years old. He led a 12-man squad. Most of his men were older than him. Some resented taking orders from a teenager. But Audie earned respect through competence. He didn't ask his men to do anything he wouldn't do. He led from the front. He took the most dangerous positions. His squad suffered fewer casualties than other squads because Audie was careful. He didn't waste lives on pointless attacks. He'd scout enemy positions personally. He'd find weaknesses. Then, he'd attack with precision. On January 22, 1944, near Anzio, Audie's squad was tasked with clearing a German-held farmhouse. Intelligence said 6-8 Germans inside. Audie approached alone to scout. He crawled to within 30 yards. He counted 15 Germans, 3 machine guns. This wasn't 68 defenders. This was a reinforced position. A frontal assault would kill most of his squad. Audie returned and reported. His platoon leader, Lieutenant Manning, ordered the attack anyway. "We have our orders. Take that farmhouse." Audie argued. Manning insisted. Audie saluted and said, "Yes, sir." Then he ignored the order. Instead of frontal assault, Audie took 2 men and circled around the farmhouse. They positioned themselves behind the German position. Audie waited until dark. Then he threw grenades through the rear windows. The explosions caused chaos. Germans ran out the front door directly into machine gun fire from the rest of Audie's platoon positioned there. 15 Germans died, 0 American casualties. Lieutenant Manning was furious. "I ordered a frontal assault. You disobeyed." Audie replied, "You ordered me to take the farmhouse. I took it. You didn't specify how." Manning threatened court-martial, but the company commander, now Captain Marks, intervened. He accomplished the mission without casualties. That's good leadership. Manning was transferred. Audie was promoted to staff sergeant. This pattern repeated throughout 1944. Audie would receive orders. He'd evaluate them. If the orders would get his men killed unnecessarily, he'd find another way. He was court-martialed twice for disobedience. Both times, his commanders dropped charges because Audie's methods worked. His casualty rate was the lowest in the battalion. His kill count was the highest. By June 1944, Audie had killed approximately 150 German soldiers. His rifle marksmanship was legendary in the 3rd Infantry Division. Other units requested him for difficult missions. He became a specialist in impossible tasks. Clear that fortified position, eliminate that machine gun nest, scout that enemy line, missions that would cause 10 to 15 casualties if done conventionally. Audie would complete them alone with 0 friendly casualties. In August 1944, the 15th Infantry participated in Operation Dragoon, the invasion of southern France. The division landed near Saint-Tropez on August 15th. German resistance was light initially. Then it intensified as Allied forces advanced north. The Germans were retreating but fighting defensive actions at every opportunity. On August 18th, near La Croix, Audie's platoon encountered a German roadblock. 2 machine guns, 30 infantry, dug in. The road was the only route forward. Flanking was impossible due to dense forest. Lieutenant Walker, the new platoon leader, ordered a frontal assault. Audie said, "That'll cost us 20 men." Walker said, "You have a better idea?" Audie said, "Yes." He took a Browning automatic rifle and 200 rounds of ammunition. He told his men to wait 10 minutes, then advance. He crawled alone to within 50 yards of the German position, undetected. Then he stood up and opened fire, full automatic. He killed both machine gun crews in the first burst. Then he fired at the infantry, aimed bursts, 3-round groups. The Germans scattered. Some ran. Audie shot them. Some returned fire. Audie shot them. The engagement lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 19 Germans were dead. The roadblock was cleared. Audie walked back to his platoon. Lieutenant Walker said, "That was insane." Audie replied, "But it worked." Walker recommended Audie for the Distinguished Service Cross. It was approved. Audie was 20 years old. His men started calling him Babyface because he looked 16. He hated the nickname, but it stuck. To the Germans, he was something else. Captured German soldiers reported that their officers warned them about Der kleine Texaner, the little Texan, a small American soldier who killed from long range with extraordinary accuracy. German snipers were ordered to hunt him specifically. None succeeded. Audie was too careful. He never stayed in one position. He never established patterns. He was a ghost. By November 1944, Audie had been promoted to second lieutenant, battlefield commission. He was now an officer despite having only a 5th grade education. His company commander, Captain Marks, said, "You're the best soldier I've ever seen, but you're going to get yourself killed." Audie replied, "We're all going to get killed eventually. At least I'll take a lot of Germans with me." Marks said, "That's not healthy thinking." Audie said, "This isn't a healthy job." Marks dropped the subject. But he was right. Audie was developing what modern psychology would call survivor's guilt combined with suicidal ideation. Most of his original company was dead. New replacements arrived constantly. Audie trained them. They died. More replacements arrived. The cycle continued. Audie felt responsible for every death. He started taking increasingly reckless actions, volunteering for the most dangerous missions, exposing himself unnecessarily. His men noticed. They couldn't understand why their lieutenant seemed determined to die. In December 1944, the 3rd Infantry Division was positioned near Colmar in eastern France, the Colmar Pocket, a bulge in the German line containing approximately 50,000 Wehrmacht and SS troops. The pocket needed to be eliminated before Allied forces could advance into Germany. The attack began January 20th, 1945. The weather was terrible. Snow, freezing temperatures. The Germans defended with desperation. They knew the war was lost, but they fought anyway. On January 26, 1945, Audie Murphy would face a situation that would earn him the Medal of Honor and cement his place in military history. At 2:00 p.m. on January 26, 1945, 2nd Lieutenant Audie Murphy positioned his company near the village of Holzwihr in eastern France, 15 kilometers west of the German border. His unit, Company B, 15th Infantry, held a defensive line along a frozen field bordered by forest. Intelligence reported German forces were massing for a counterattack. Murphy's company numbered 128 men. They had 2 M10 tank destroyers for support. The temperature was 14 degrees. Snow covered everything. Murphy surveyed the terrain. The field was 400 yards wide, flat, no cover except for scattered trees. The Germans would have to cross that open ground to reach American positions, good defensive position. But Murphy was uneasy. The forest to the east was too quiet. German forces were out there, waiting, preparing. He could feel it. At 2:47 p.m., German artillery opened fire, 80 shells in 5 minutes. The American positions were bracketed, accurate fire. Then the artillery stopped. Murphy knew what came next. He shouted to his men, "Here they come! Hold your fire until 200 yards!" At 2:52 p.m., German infantry emerged from the forest, not a probe, a full assault. Murphy counted approximately 250 soldiers. Behind them, 6 tanks, Panzer IVs and Stu G3 assault guns. This wasn't a local counterattack. This was a major offensive aimed at breaking through American lines. Murphy's company opened fire at 200 yards. Machine guns, rifles, bar automatic rifles. Germans fell, but they kept coming. Standard Wehrmacht assault tactics: advance under covering fire, close to grenade range. Overwhelmed defenders with numbers. It had worked countless times on the Eastern Front. It would work here. The two M10 tank destroyers opened fire. Their 3-inch guns killed one Panzer IV. The German tanks returned fire. 75mm to high explosive shells. One M10 was hit. The crew bailed out. The vehicle burned. The second M10 repositioned. Fired again. Missed. A German Stu G3 fired. Direct hit. The M10 exploded. The crew didn't escape. Now, Murphy's company had no anti-tank support. 6 German tanks were advancing. 200+ German infantry. Murphy's men were taking casualties. The German assault was gaining momentum. In approximately 8 minutes, German forces would overrun American positions. Murphy's company would be destroyed. Murphy grabbed a field telephone. He called battalion headquarters. Request immediate artillery support. Grid coordinates Echo 47, German armor and infantry. Danger close. The fire control officer responded. Artillery is engaged supporting another sector. No guns available. You're on your own. Murphy understood. His company would die unless something changed. He looked at the burning M10 tank destroyer. The vehicle was 50 yards ahead of his main defensive line, isolated, exposed, but the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on top was intact. The fire hadn't reached it yet. Murphy made a decision. He told his executive officer, Lieutenant Griffin, pull the company back 200 yards, establish a new defensive line at the tree line. I'll cover your withdrawal. Griffin said, with what? We have no support weapons. Murphy said, I'll use the .50 cal on the burning TD. Griffin stared at him. That's suicide. You'll be alone, in the open, against 200 Germans and 6 tanks. Murphy said, then I'd better start shooting. Want to see what happened when Murphy climbed onto that burning tank destroyer? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Back to the story. At 3:01 p.m., Murphy ran to the burning M10. Flames were spreading. The ammunition inside would cook off soon, probably within 10 to 15 minutes. Murphy climbed onto the vehicle. The .50 caliber machine gun was still operational. Ammunition boxes were intact. He had approximately 750 rounds. He positioned himself behind the gun. The steel deck beneath him was hot. Smoke poured from the engine compartment. He ignored it. The German infantry was 150 yards away, advancing in a skirmish line. Murphy aimed the .50 cal, fired. The heavy machine gun thundered. Tracer rounds arced toward the Germans. The first burst killed 3 soldiers. Murphy adjusted aim, fired again. 5 more Germans fell. The .50 caliber round was devastating against infantry. 660 grains of lead core projectile traveling at 20,900 feet per second. It would penetrate body armor. It would go through 2 men and hit a third. Each hit was catastrophic. The German advance slowed. Soldiers went prone. They returned fire. Bullets hit the M10's hull. Sparks, ricochets. Murphy kept firing. Controlled bursts, 3 to 5 rounds. Reacquire target. Fire again. He was completely exposed, standing on top of a burning vehicle in the middle of an open field. Every German soldier could see him, but the position gave him an elevated firing platform. He could see over the scattered trees. He could see the entire German force, and he could kill them. At 3:06 p.m., the German tanks advanced. They were 200 yards away now. Murphy shifted fire. The .50 cal couldn't penetrate tank armor, but it could kill tank commanders. German tanks typically operated with the commander exposed in the cupola, directing the crew. Murphy aimed at the lead Panzer IV's cupola. Fired. 10 rounds. The commander collapsed. The tank stopped. Buttoned up. The crew was blind now. They couldn't see targets. They fired. Randomly. Wasting ammunition. Murphy repeated this with 3 more tanks, killing or suppressing commanders. The German armor advance stalled. Without commanders, the tanks couldn't coordinate with infantry. The assault lost cohesion. German infantry was pinned down by Murphy's machine gun fire. German tanks were confused, firing at nothing. The attack was failing. But Murphy's position was deteriorating. The M10 was burning more intensely. Flames were spreading toward the ammunition storage. Murphy felt heat through his boots. The steel deck was too hot to touch. He kept firing. His ammunition was depleting. 500 rounds remaining. 400. 300. At 3:14 p.m., a German soldier with a Panzerfaust positioned himself 80 yards from Murphy. The Panzerfaust was a shape-charge anti-tank weapon. One hit would kill Murphy and destroy the M10 completely. The German aimed. Murphy saw him. He swung the 50 cal, fired. The burst hit the German before he could launch. The Panzerfaust exploded prematurely. The blast killed the German and 3 others nearby. Murphy's ammunition counter showed 200 rounds remaining. The German infantry was regrouping. They were preparing another assault. Murphy called battalion on the field telephone. He'd kept the line open. "Need artillery now. Grid Echo 47. Fire for effect. Danger close." The fire control officer said, "How close?" Murphy said, 50 yards from my position." The officer said, "That'll kill you." Murphy said, "If you don't fire, the Germans will kill me anyway. At least artillery gives me a chance." At 3:19 p.m., American artillery opened fire. 105mm howitzers, 12 guns, firing for effect. The shells screamed overhead. They impacted 50 to 70 yards from Murphy's position. The explosions were massive. Shrapnel hummed past him. Concussion waves buffeted the M10. Germans died by the dozens. The assault broke completely. Survivors retreated toward the forest. Murphy kept firing his 50 cal, killing Germans as they ran. The artillery barrage lasted 4 minutes. When it ended, the field was covered with German casualties. Murphy counted approximately 50 dead in his immediate field of view. Artillery had killed maybe another 30-40. The 6 German tanks were withdrawing. One had been disabled by artillery. The crew bailed out. Murphy shot them as they ran. 5 men, 5 kills, no hesitation. At 3:25 p.m., the M10's ammunition finally cooked off. The internal explosion threw Murphy from the vehicle. He landed 15 feet away. The blast injured his right leg. Shrapnel wounds, not life-threatening but painful. He couldn't walk. He crawled toward American lines. Lieutenant Griffin and 3 soldiers ran forward. They dragged Murphy back to safety. Murphy had been alone on that burning tank destroyer for 54 minutes. He'd fired approximately 600 rounds from the 50 caliber machine gun. He'd killed an estimated 50 German soldiers. He'd called artillery fire on his own position. He'd single-handedly stopped an attack by 250 infantry and 6 tanks. He was 20 years old. The company medic examined Murphy's leg wound. Shrapnel had penetrated his calf muscle. The medic wanted to evacuate him. Murphy refused. "Patch it up, I'm staying." The medic cleaned the wound, applied sulfa powder, and wrapped it. Murphy stood. His leg hurt. He ignored it. He repositioned his company. He called battalion for ammunition resupply. He prepared for the next German attack. It never came. German forces in that sector withdrew during the night. The assault on Murphy's position had cost them too much. After the battle, Lieutenant Griffin submitted a report recommending Murphy for the Medal of Honor. The report detailed Murphy's actions. The witnesses confirmed every detail. 12 men had observed the entire engagement. Their statements were consistent. Murphy had accomplished something unprecedented. 1 soldier with 1 machine gun had stopped a battalion-strength attack. The recommendation was approved. On June 2, 1945, Major General John Dahlquist presented Murphy with the Medal of Honor. The ceremony was held near Salzburg, Austria. Murphy stood at attention while the citation was read. When Dahlquist pinned the medal on Murphy's uniform, he said, "You're the bravest man I've ever met." Murphy replied, "I just did my job, sir." But Murphy didn't feel brave. He felt numb. He'd survived when so many others had died. His original company of 128 men had suffered 80% casualties over 6 months. Most were dead. Some were wounded and evacuated. Murphy was one of the few originals still fighting. He'd killed hundreds of Germans, exact count unknown, maybe 300, maybe more. He'd seen friends die. He'd dragged wounded men to safety. He'd done things that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The war in Europe ended May 8, 1945. Murphy's regiment was in Austria when Germany surrendered. The men celebrated. Murphy didn't. He sat alone, smoking cigarettes, staring at nothing. A reporter asked him how he felt. Murphy said, "Empty." After Germany surrendered, Audie Murphy remained in Europe with occupation forces until September 1945. The army processed his discharge paperwork. They tallied his decorations. The count was extraordinary. Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, Legion of Merit, 3 Purple Hearts, and 24 other medals and citations. Total, 33 decorations from the United States and France. He was the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II. But Murphy didn't care about medals. He cared about the 128 men from his original company. He remembered their names, their faces. where they'd died, how they'd died. He attended memorial services when possible. He wrote letters to families. He told them their sons and husbands had died bravely. Sometimes this was true, sometimes it wasn't. Murphy lied when necessary. The families needed comfort more than truth. On September 21, 1945, Murphy boarded a troop ship in Naples bound for the United States. The voyage took 11 days. Murphy spent most of the time alone. Other soldiers celebrated. They were going home. Murphy didn't feel like he was going home. He felt like he was entering foreign territory. America hadn't changed. He had. The gap was unbridgeable. The ship docked in New York on October 2, 1945. Murphy disembarked wearing his uniform with 33 medals. A reporter recognized him. "You're Audie Murphy, the war hero," Murphy said. "I'm just a soldier." The reporter asked for an interview. Murphy declined, but the reporter followed him anyway, took photographs, published a story. America's most decorated soldier returns home. The story appeared in newspapers nationwide. Murphy became famous overnight. He received hundreds of letters, marriage proposals, job offers, invitations to speak. He ignored most of them. He took the train to Texas. He went to the orphanage where he'd placed his siblings. They were still there. His youngest brother, Preston, was now 12. He barely remembered Audie. His sister, Corinne, was 15. She resented him. "You left us here. You forgot about us." Murphy said, "I never forgot. I came back." She said, 4 years later. Murphy had no response. He tried to help them. He withdrew his back pay, $1,800. He gave half to the orphanage. He used the rest to rent a small apartment in Dallas. He petitioned for custody. The state approved. His siblings moved in. It didn't work. They fought constantly. Murphy had no parenting skills. He'd spent 4 years in combat. He couldn't adjust to civilian life. His siblings couldn't adjust to him. After 6 months, they asked to return to the orphanage. Murphy agreed. He'd failed them again. He found work at a radio repair shop, $40 per week. The owner knew Murphy was a war hero. He offered the job out of patriotism. Murphy was terrible at it. He couldn't concentrate. He'd start a repair, then zone out, stare at nothing. Remember France, Germany, the burning tank destroyer. His boss tried to be patient. After 3 months, he fired Murphy. "You're not here mentally. I can't use you." Murphy took odd jobs, construction, dishwashing, driving trucks. He couldn't keep any of them. His boss at a construction site said, "You're too jumpy. Every time a truck backfires, you hit the ground. The crew thinks you're crazy." Murphy said, "Maybe I am." He was fired again. By June 1946, Murphy was broke. He was sleeping in a Dallas YMCA. He couldn't hold employment. He had nightmares every night. The same nightmare, his company being overrun, him unable to save them. He'd wake up screaming. The YMCA manager asked him to leave. "You're disturbing other residents." Murphy moved to a cheaper boarding house. The nightmares continued. He started carrying his service pistol, a Colt M19 11.45 caliber. He kept it loaded. He slept with it under his pillow. The boarding house owner discovered this. "No weapons allowed," Murphy said. "I need it." The owner said, "Why?" Murphy couldn't explain. He just felt safer with the weapon. The owner evicted him. In July 1946, Murphy was living in his car, a 1939 Chevrolet he'd bought with his last paycheck. He parked in different locations each night. He showered at public pools. He ate cheap food, mostly bread and canned beans. He was 21 years old, the most decorated American soldier of World War II, and he was homeless. Want to know how Murphy went from homeless to Hollywood star? Hit that like button and subscribe. Back to his story. On July 16, 1946, Murphy was eating at a diner in Dallas when actor James Cagney walked in. Cagney was in Texas filming a Western. He noticed Murphy's uniform and medals. Cagney introduced himself. They talked. Murphy explained his situation: unemployment, homelessness, inability to adjust to civilian life. Cagney was shocked. "You're a Medal of Honor recipient and you're sleeping in your car? That's disgraceful." Cagney offered help. He gave Murphy $300 cash. He gave Murphy his agent's phone number. "Go to Hollywood. My agent will find work for you. You have a story to tell. People want to hear it." Murphy was skeptical. "I'm not an actor." Cagney said, "You don't need to act. You just need to be yourself." Murphy drove to Hollywood in August 1946. He met Cagney's agent, Harold Sherman. Sherman got Murphy small roles in B movies. Westerns mostly. Murphy played soldiers and cowboys. His acting was wooden. He struggled with dialogue. Directors said he had no presence, but audiences liked him. There was something authentic about Murphy. He looked like he'd actually lived hard, because he had. In 1949, Murphy published his autobiography, To Hell and Back. The book described his combat experiences, the poverty of his childhood, his struggles with what he called battle fatigue, what modern psychology calls PTSD. The book was brutally honest. Murphy described killing German soldiers in detail. He described his nightmares, his difficulty sleeping, his flashbacks, his inability to form close relationships. He said, "Part of me died in the war. I don't know how to get it back." The book became a bestseller. It sold over 1 million copies in the first year. Hollywood wanted to adapt it into a film. Universal Pictures bought the rights. They offered Murphy $25,000 for his story. They wanted a famous actor to play him. Murphy refused. "If anyone plays me, it'll be me." Universal agreed. In 1955, they produced To Hell and Back, starring Audie Murphy as himself. The film required Murphy to recreate his combat experiences, including the January 26, 1945 action where he'd stood on the burning tank destroyer. The director built a replica M10. They used pyrotechnics to simulate the fire. Murphy had to climb onto it, recreate his actions, relive the worst day of his life for entertainment. During filming, Murphy had a breakdown. The pyrotechnics triggered a flashback. He thought he was actually in combat. He jumped off the M10. He grabbed a prop rifle. He pointed it at crew members, thinking they were Germans. The director yelled, "Cut!" Murphy didn't respond. He was gone, lost in memory. It took 3 people to disarm him. He was hospitalized for 2 days. The film was released in 1955. It became one of the highest-grossing films of the year. Murphy became a major Hollywood star. He made $80,000 from the film, more money than he'd ever imagined. He bought a house. He married actress Wanda Hendricks in 1949, but they divorced in 1951. He married Pamela Archer in 1951. They had 2 sons. Murphy tried to be a good husband and father. He mostly failed. The PTSD was too severe. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow for the rest of his life. Pamela learned not to wake him suddenly. If she did, Murphy would wake up swinging. Once he grabbed her throat before realizing who she was. He was horrified. "I could have killed you," she said. "But you didn't." Murphy said, "Next time I might." They installed separate bedrooms. Murphy slept alone, with his pistol. He became addicted to sleeping pills, Seconal, Nembutal, heavy barbiturates. He needed them to sleep without nightmares. At peak usage, he was taking 40-50 pills per week, far above prescribed doses. In 1957, he realized the addiction was destroying him. He quit cold turkey. No tapering, no medical supervision, just stopped. The withdrawal was brutal. Seizures, hallucinations, tremors. He locked himself in a hotel room for a week. When he emerged, he'd beaten the addiction. He spoke publicly about PTSD before the term existed. In a 1960 interview, Murphy said, "The war never ends. It's always there, in your head, in your dreams. You can't escape it. You can't forget. You just learn to live with it." This was revolutionary. In 1960, soldiers didn't discuss mental health. You were supposed to be tough, handle it privately. Murphy broke that code. He said, "If talking about it helps one veteran, it's worth it." He advocated for better veteran mental health services. He testified before Congress in 1961. He described his experiences, his nightmares, his failed marriages, his suicide attempts. Yes, plural. Murphy had attempted suicide twice, once in 1947, once in 1952. He'd survived both. He told Congress, "Veterans are killing themselves because they can't get help. The VA doesn't understand what we're dealing with. They think we're weak. We're not weak. We're injured. We need treatment, not judgment." Congress listened. But funding increases were minimal. The VA remained understaffed and underfunded. Murphy continued advocating. He did it for free. He donated money to veteran causes. He visited VA hospitals. He talked to veterans. He listened to their stories. He told them, "You're not alone. I've been where you are. You can survive this." In 1968, Murphy appeared in his last film, A Time for Dying. His Hollywood career was winding down. Westerns were no longer popular. Murphy was 43 years old, too old for action roles, too typecast to play dramatic roles. He accepted the decline. "I had a good run, more than I deserved." He started a new business, horse breeding. He bought property in Virginia. He raised quarter horses. It was peaceful, quiet. The horses didn't care about his past. They didn't ask about the war. Murphy found some peace there. Not much, but some. On May 28, 1971, Murphy was traveling from Virginia to a business meeting in Texas. He couldn't drive. He'd lost his driver's license due to unpaid traffic tickets. He booked a flight on a private aircraft, a twin-engine Aero Commander. The plane departed Martinsville, Virginia at 3:30 p.m. Destination, Roanoke. From there, Murphy would connect to a commercial flight to Texas. At 4:20 p.m., the aircraft encountered heavy fog near Roanoke. The pilot, Herman Butler, radioed air traffic control. "Visibility is near zero, requesting instrument approach clearance." The controller cleared the approach. The pilot acknowledged. That was the last transmission. At 4:27 p.m., the aircraft crashed into Brush Mountain approximately 20 miles west of Roanoke. Impact speed was estimated at 180 mph. The aircraft disintegrated. Everyone aboard died instantly. Murphy, the pilot, 3 other passengers. Murphy was 46 years old. The wreckage was located the next morning. Murphy's body was identified by dental records. His face was too damaged for visual identification. He was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery on June 7, 1971. The funeral was attended by thousands: politicians, actors, veterans, people who'd never met Murphy but respected what he represented. President Richard Nixon issued a statement. Audie Murphy was one of America's greatest heroes. His courage in battle was matched by his courage in facing the demons of war afterward. He spoke truth when others stayed silent. We honor his service and mourn his loss. Murphy's grave at Arlington is one of the most visited. More than 100,000 people visit annually. They leave medals, flowers, notes. Veterans leave their combat ribbons on his headstone, a gesture of respect, one warrior to another. His legacy is complicated. He was a killer. He personally killed between 240 and 300 men during the war. He was candid about this. In his autobiography, he wrote, "I don't regret killing Germans. They were trying to kill me, but I don't celebrate it either. Every man I killed was someone's son, someone's brother. That weighs on me." He advocated for PTSD awareness decades before it became mainstream. Modern veteran mental health programs trace their origins to Murphy's congressional testimony and public advocacy. He forced America to acknowledge that combat damaged soldiers psychologically, not just physically. His Medal of Honor citation is read at military training schools. The citation describes the January 26, 1945 action. Young soldiers learn about Murphy. They're told, "This is what courage looks like." But Murphy disagreed with that characterization. He said in 1967, "I wasn't courageous. I was terrified. Courage is when you're afraid but do it anyway because you have no choice. I had no choice. If I hadn't stopped those Germans, they'd have killed my men. It wasn't heroism. It was survival." That's the complete story of Audie Murphy, a poor Texas farm boy who became the most decorated American soldier of World War II, who killed hundreds of enemies, who saved his men repeatedly, who suffered from PTSD for 26 years, who advocated for veterans when no one else would, who died in a plane crash at 46. If this story showed you the real cost of war, hit that like button. Subscribe for more true World War II stories. Turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.